After weeks and weeks of play, we are finally here for the Gel Fall Open Finals between Bruton Parker and Georgia Tech. I got my co-caster with me, Slim Tony. I am your play-by-play and host, Skyther. You might have saw me on the Knockout City stream just a couple moments ago, but Tony, I know we've had 9 teams reduced to 4 teams, reduced to this week with 2 teams. So I know you're excited, so give me a little bit of breakdown of your excitement.
Well, I mean, let's just start off with saying that, Georgia is the first state to even host a tournament of this event for the colleges, for the esports programs. So it definitely gives them a chance to play in and out of season, and I'm definitely excited for that. I mean, we've seen a lot of great teams. We've seen rookie teams. We've seen vet teams, and now we're down to the final 2. I mean, Skyther, super excited.
Yeah, as we go ahead and take a look back as to where we came from, right? We saw teams like Morehouse and Mercer come in like the rookies and play against some of the top dogs like UGA and Georgia Tech, and a little bit of some College Rocket League pro teams such as Bruton Parker and KSU maybe have a little bit more experience in the Rocket League community, but we've enjoyed them nonetheless, especially when it comes to Morehouse and Mercer being some new and upcoming teams for some Georgia esports teams.
Absolutely. We also seen UNG come in super strong, same as KSU and BPA Academy. I mean, Bruton Parker Academy. So it's definitely been pretty dope to see how the bracket has dwindled down to now the vets.
Yeah, and we got to call out Georgia State as well. Personally, I am a Georgia State fanboy because I go to Georgia State. But I've really enjoyed seeing their culmination of finally adding in a Rocket team. They were already pretty pre-established and had a bunch of teams for some other games. But now that we finally had a Rocket League team, I'm excited to see where that progresses going forward.
Absolutely. Georgia State definitely came in tough. They definitely showed what they can bring to the table. And, I mean, you already can tell what team I'm rooting for. They're definitely in the finals, and we're ready to go for it. I mean, what else are we expecting? I know we're going to look at a couple highlights and just trying to see where we went from 9 to 2. This is pretty big.
Yeah, and if we look at some of the highlights for these past couple weeks, I really enjoyed seeing Aura come through last week in our semifinals, pulling up the first hat trick, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he pulled the first hat trick of the entire Gel tournament over the last month and really proved that he was a force to be reckoned with.
I would definitely say that all 9 teams definitely came. They showed out. There was some specific players that definitely stood out and left a mark on the tournament this fall open. And you can definitely tell the energy and the work that they definitely put behind it as a team.
Yeah, Sharky really proven some aggression for UNG himself, but we gotta talk about it. This is the finals, and there is a prize pool for this. We mentioned this in the semis last week, but these 2 teams are playing for $1 grand. Okay?
Wow.
Not some short change for some college level play. Winner takes $750, loser takes $250. No matter who it is, you're taking something home.
Absolutely. I mean, for these guys, I know it's more so just about the title. And why not leave with a little bit of money in your pocket? It's just a win-win scenario for both.
Yeah, bragging rights and a cash prize. I would say that is the most advantageous thing that you could walk away from tonight.
Absolutely. I feel like both of these teams won it. This is the rematch we've been waiting for. They definitely came out in Summer Expo for Gel last season, and Bruton Parker came in and killed the show. However, they're back again, and we've already seen how they played before, so we're definitely excited about this rematch. I know I am.
Yeah, I'm specifically excited to see what Georgia Tech might offer. I can see that we're building a little bit of a bias here at the at the desk, but that's okay because you're rooting for your team, I'll root for my team, but we will root in tandem for each other when it comes to showing what they offer.
Absolutely. I mean, I am a Bruton Parker fan. I've been a Bruton Parker fan since the Summer Expo, so I definitely had to come in strong and represent for them. So, Why not?
Yeah, and we will go ahead and take a look at some highlights from the last couple of weeks and go ahead and showcase what each of these teams from this tournament have offered, starting off with UNG's aggression. I really enjoyed seeing the level of play that they offered, and maybe at sometimes it did lead to some overcommitment into some goals, but they came out nonetheless and proved to Georgia State that they were an insane team to play against.
I mean, this tournament was intense. I mean, the aerial plays, the assists, everything was great. Everybody definitely came out and showed what they had to bring for their team and for their college. And you can tell just by the slight advantages and just the slight being off of a block. It was amazing. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite series to watch this entire tournament was the series between the rivals, Georgia Tech and the Bulldogs. We saw TJ come out on top for UGA, put up some great numbers, some great assists, as well as set up the program for UGA to be successful in the future.
I mean, I love that too. I definitely love that 10-minute overtime just for one goal. I mean, intense. They definitely brought their A game to this tournament, is no doubt about it.
Yeah, to our viewers at home, something that we got to witness in our casting was a insane 10-minute overtime between KSU and Bruton Parker Academy. So 3 games worth of commentating between a couple of us, and KSU were able to bring that level of play to Bruton Parker Academy. Had a little bit of a disadvantage to BPA, a little bit of the underdogs going into that, but that's enough from looking back. We're looking to today. We got Bruton Parker, we got Georgia Tech. We got to talk about the potential of these two teams today.
I mean, I can honestly say that both teams definitely have a strong foundation. They know what they need to do to close it out. Now, I'm just excited because I know this rematch is highly anticipated. You know, I feel like Georgia Tech, being a more veteran team, definitely has something to prove and to show these rooks, hey, we're still as good as we used to be.
Yeah, we saw last week Oni really coming out on top for Georgia Tech, really pushing the pace forward for them and really pushing a level of pace that Georgia or UGA didn't actually expect going into that. It proved to be their downfall, and it proved that Georgia Tech really can keep up with a best of 5. But this isn't a best of 5. Today, we got a best of 7 between these two teams.
Now, I believe that Melodic can definitely glide his team onto a win. He's definitely done it before. He was set up for an assist. He's not afraid to block. He's pretty diverse in how he moves around the field, offensively and defensively. But I'm more than positive that they're going to take it home today.
Man, I can't wait to see if your prediction's true. But I want to touch on something that you just mentioned, like those rotations from Bruton Parker. We know that they're really strong when it comes to rotating from mid into their backfield. Do you think Georgia Tech has that potential to actually like converge with them in that mid, maybe fight for those mid boosts, and maybe come out on top in those engagements, those little micro battles in the middle?
I think that they could. Considering that they did play each other in the earlier brackets, I feel like Georgia Tech should kind of have a feel on exactly how Bruton Parker plays. It's honestly just going to be who plays it best. Now, this game of 7 is definitely going to be a long one. It's not a race, it's a marathon. So we got to see who's going to be consistent and keep that energy going throughout each game.
Yeah, speaking of racing and energy, I know a lot of teams really want to race for those boost pads, those big 100 pads, get them up into the air for some action. Do you think both of these teams have what it takes to control their own boosts in their spawn? Or do you think there's going to be a lot of boost stealing from these teams knowing how long this series is?
I feel like there might be a lot of boost stealing. I feel like there'll be a lot of demos because it's going to be intense. They're not going to make it easy on nobody. You can definitely tell there will be a lot of defensive play, probably out of game 1 and game 2. And I really just want to see who's going to go for that goal, who's going to take that initiative and actually make the first drive. Because in the beginning, you kind of want to block your goal and you don't want to go for that goal because sometimes it may not go through.
Yeah, it might not prove into either team's favor, really. But now, one thing that we can both attest to is that Bruton Parker really knows how to drive a kickoff. But
Absolutely.
Georgia Tech also does, especially when it came to their group stages against Bruton Parker. This was the first series that we actually got to broadcast and cast over was Bruton Parker and Georgia Tech. In our best of 3, Georgia Tech was the only team to put one game up against Bruton Parker. And since then, Bruton Parker did lose a game to KSU, but Georgia Tech was looking to be one of the stronger teams against Bruton Parker. So what do you think Bruton Parker needs to expect from Georgia Tech going into the series?
Expect that they're going to fight for their life. I mean, you can tell just from the earlier brackets, Georgia Tech, almost half of their games went into overtime. So they're definitely in for the long haul. They're definitely built to keep going. So I just want them to understand that this may not be a quick, easy win, but you have to keep up that momentum. Do not let, a lead, discourage you and just get soaked in. And just continue to push yourself and see what better team will win, These are both two great, strong teams. So either way, I hope they're both proud of each other, but we'll see who's going to be the better team tonight.
Yeah, they can be proud of each other in our play space.
Yeah.
But when it comes to playing head-to-head, we're going to have to see who can come out on top between each other. Will it be the Swarm, or will it be the Bruton Parker College?
I honestly feel like they're going to come out of Game 1 super aggressive. And I feel like Game 1 will kind of set the tone for the whole best-of-7 series. So I'm just hoping – I want to see who goes for it first. Because somebody is going to come out the gate like, look, we did not come to play. We're claiming Game 1.
Yeah, so I guess who do you expect to see when it comes to playing that first kickoff really aggressively? Because I know as we go into Game 1 and 2, we might actually see a little bit of rotations coming out from each other. But I do think we'll see a little bit more passive play coming into that Game 1 and 2.
I honestly expect Bruton Parker to come out the gate with the full intensity. Now, I will be shocked if it is Georgia Tech, but I guess after this break, we'll find out exactly who's going to take it and run with it.
Yeah, you'll see us in just a little bit, guys.
We're back. I mean, are you ready to see some Rocket League? Because I'm ready to see some.
I'm personally ready, but maybe we'll hold our horses just a little bit. We hope you guys got to see a little bit more of excitement in that highlight video during that commercial break, and see what we got to see a little bit over the course of the weeks. Sure, it didn't get to highlight every single goal and every insane moment in that series, but it did its job of showcasing each team.
Absolutely, and I mean, we're going to see some great highlights right now. We're in the game.
Yeah, game one is officially underway of our gel finals, and I am so excited that we are already seeing some demos coming out from this team. Melodic setting up on the side, ready for any kind of pass, but it will be Antics who takes the first goal leading into the series, only 13 seconds in. Melodic was able to get that flip reset onto the ball and pass it right into Antics over two members of Georgia Tech, coming out swinging just like you had hoped.
Again, I tell you, this, if you set up for the assist, it will go through, okay? Like, you have to have full court vision.
Yeah, any kind of full court vision or any kind of vision at all is really going to prove vital for both of these teams. Antics going up into the air to try and get a pass over to his buddy on Bruton Parker, but Soul and Melodic trying to fight for control as teammates on this ball. Seeing a lot of early aggression coming in from both teams, like we had mentioned. The Swarm also doing a really good job getting some balls off the wall and getting some passes into each other.
Absolutely. I mean, you can tell, I told you, straight out the gate, demos, everybody will be playing defensively. And now that Bruton Parker has a point on the board, Georgia Tech has to keep up.
Yeah, we do see a little bit of passing coming in from some members of Bruton Parker. 2 shots on a goal in the last couple moments. It will be Antics, though, who does drop one off the crossbar into the top corner and goes 2-0 for Bruton Parker with only a minute into the game. A lot of momentum swinging in favor of Bruton Parker in this game one.
Now, exactly what I said. Medelic will set up his players every time, and Antics will fall through with the assist. It was slightly a little bit off the crossbar, but he came back and he knocked it straight in there.
You know, I just now realized, is his name Medelic or is it Melodic? Or do you have a personal connection with Melodic to call him what you do?
It's melodic, but it's like melody how he plays on this court, and he just perfectly in tune with his players. I mean, every time.
And we will go ahead, jump right back into this game. A minute and a half in, it will be Georgia Tech who are put onto their back foot, stuck into the goal and stuck on the back line as Bruton Parker keeps up the aggression. It will be Oni, though, who actually passes it into Georgia Tech, gives them a little bit of momentum going forward. A little bit of a shot coming in from Cure, but it will be blocked from Bruton Parker, and Bruton Parker do put another one up on the board and gets the pass into Melodic, sets up. Everyone is getting just set up so perfectly. Soul gets the pass into Melodic, and he is able to sink yet another goal in. Still looking really strong for Bruton Parker.
Now, again, I would say one good thing that Bruton Parker does do, once the ball is on their side of the field, they definitely set themselves up to have any assist or to just straight up use a boost and go for the goal.
Yeah, we do see a little bit of a setup, unfortunately, coming from Oni. Two balls do come in for a double touch for Soul, but he wasn't able to capitalize on it and send it down into his teammate. It will be Georgia Tech's ball and they do try and get a little bit of a push coming in. Cure tries to get the pass into Oni, but Oni couldn't get the touch on just in time. It will fall into Bruton Parker's hand. Soul taking this from the corner, puts this into the mid-line for a Georgia Tech member, but they couldn't get the capitalized goal that they want.
I mean, right now you could definitely tell that Georgia Tech is trying to play super defensively because, I mean, let's be real. They're putting scores on the board, and they just want to at least match up one. It is 2 minutes and 18 seconds left, and Cure All Good answers the call back. He says, I'm going to get it in there by any means necessary.
He says, I'm going to be the cure for the team, put one on the board, at least sway this score line a little bit less in favor of Bruton Parker and put this back into Georgia Tech territory.
Absolutely. Now, I feel like he could have used the boost there just to automatically get it in there because Bruton Parker was this close to knocking it out of the goal.
Yeah, we do see Soul trying to get another one up on the board for Bruton Parker, capitalize on their score even a little bit more, but it will be Oni from the midfield who does sink one in front of Bruton Parker, does a really good job of capitalizing on a little bit of a mishap from Antics, who couldn't get there in time, and we see 2 goals from Georgia Tech within 15 seconds of each other.
And that was a great use of the boost for Oni. You could definitely tell he's like, hey, we may have came out as strong, but we're definitely going to fight for this one. And this is a great matchup so far. I mean, with a minute and 52 seconds left and this many score on the board, This is going to be a great series.
Yeah, we're getting something high scoring. If we're getting something this high scoring, we're gonna get a high series of games, right? We did see right off the start of the kickoff though, Oni did try and get another touch onto another shot on goal, but it was blocked by Melodic, who did a really good job of rotating out of his back line into the goalpost. It will be a little bit of Bruton Parker sway as they go forward into this, but it will be Melodic who gets the nice little reverse touch onto the ball. A nice setup from Antics and a nice little play off of each other.
I mean, the aerial play, he can do no wrong in my eyes. He's definitely always coming in clutch. That should be his new nickname if he wants it.
Who changed Melodic to Clutch?
Absolutely. He's always there. If it's not the assist, he's going to drive it every time.
Man, we will see drops stuck into the corner for Georgia Tech as they do see a little bit of Bruton Parker aggression come forward on them. Melodic doing a really good job of pushing the pace for Bruton Parker, but Georgia Tech saying, no, I'm not done yet. We're at least putting this ball off of our side of the field and onto the other side of the pitch. However, Bruton Parker isn't done with this push yet.
Absolutely. I mean, you can tell the defensive play has definitely stepped up. And at this point, Bruton Parker's like, hey, we're going to go for each goal, and Georgia Tech is definitely trying to fight that off.
Yeah, we do see a little bit of a push coming in for Bruton Parker, and Georgia Tech members doing a really good job of swarming the ball, pushing this into mid and getting some pinches to try and clear the aggression from Bruton Parker. Melodic goes up to try and get the second touch onto ball. It will be actually like a three-person touch for it, but it will be Oni, comes out of the goal, gets the nice stop onto Melodic, maybe puts his Melody to rest.
Now, Georgia Tech is doing exactly what we said they need to do. Once the ball is on their side of the field, you have to go for these shots. You definitely have to play defensively with Bruton Parker because they're so good at being strategic.
Yeah, we do see a little bit more strategy from Georgia Tech come into this as a little bit of a mishap from Melodic and Soul plays into the favor for Bruton, into Georgia Tech's favor. It will be Oni, though, who tries to get a nice last-minute goal onto Bruton Parker, but Bruton Parker reads him like a book and knocks his ball and his dreams to the ground in game number 1 for Bruton Parker to take it.
I mean, just look at these highlights. You can't make this up. The way Antics came out, it definitely always Melodic set him up for the assist every time, and you definitely can tell that they're playing together as a team. With this game, you never know who's blocking, who's there. You have to always be prepared for that play.
Yeah, you always got to be prepared for each other, really, because those two are proving that they are an insurmountable duo. They are proving that they can play off of one of each other and play off of each other's passes more than anything.
I mean, I didn't wear this shirt for no reason. They definitely came to play, and I expect nothing less than this from them going through this whole series. I mean, 4-2, and that's just game 1.
Yeah, we got to see what Georgia Tech can do to rally in this game 2 as we set up for game number 2. And it will be Georgia Tech who actually does win this kickoff to start. Dropped, tries and passes this into his members, but he does give up the possession to Bruton Parker. It will be Antics who does get this ball off the corner into Georgia Tech territory, but it will be Oni who actually gets a really nice clear onto the ball, pops this down to Cure, but Cure unable to get to the ball in time, passes back into Bruton Parker. Soul gets the pass up off the crossbar into some members of Bruton Parker, and it will be Antics who gets the first goal of game number 2.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Antics definitely coming out fire hot and ready, and he's like, anytime you set me up, I will be there to pitch it. You can definitely tell game 2 is very crucial because it can either be a 1 even lead or it'll be 2-1, and they don't want that.
Yeah, and it proves that Antics and Melodic were playing off of each other perfectly in that moment, like we were talking about. Those two are reading each other like a syllabus reads or like a college professor reads his syllabus to his class.
Absolutely. They definitely feeding off each other, and once they know that one has the ball, they say, hey, go to the goal and get set up, and I love that.
Minute into this game, it will be Dropped and Antics who fight for this possession right in front of Georgia Tech's goal. Dropped trying to fight with Soul to try and gain some new possession of this ball. It will be Melodic and Oni who fight for a possession in front of the goal as well. A lot of goals and a lot of shots coming in front of Georgia Tech's goal, but it will be Georgia Tech who finally get the clear that they were looking for.
Now, don't sleep on Sol. He's definitely sneaky. He gets the ball from Georgia Tech, and he pushes it where it needs to go. He's definitely playing the more of the backfield and making sure if the ball goes to Georgia Tech's side, that he take care of it.
Yeah, we do see a little bit sad times for Kier, though. He does get knocked from the field, and he also didn't have any boost going up into his possession to try and get a nice shot on goal for Georgia Tech, but dropped trying to keep up his push for Georgia Tech. Keeps up the pressure just a little bit, but Bruton Parker's aggression proving just unequivocal for Georgia Tech.
Now, you can tell this game is definitely more defensive. I mean, here we are with 2 minutes and 53 seconds left, and we only have one score on the board. This is definitely different from game one, and Georgia Tech is definitely putting the pressure on.
Yeah, they're putting a lot of pressure onto Bruton Parker to make more shots on goal, make some wild plays, because that's something that we talk about in this series and talk about in Rocket League. You don't want something unpredictable. You want something that you can read, whether it's those ball reflex or those boost steals, and being able to play off of those rotations off the boost pads more than anything.
Absolutely. They're definitely coming out the gate strong. We're seeing a lot of balls hit the top crossbar, but we'll see if someone can come through with the assist.
Yeah, Drop was able to put this in his own corner for Georgia Tech and didn't allow Sol to get the chance to read that ball, but it will be Oni and Melodic who actually fight for possession. Melodic jukes him out and puts this right in front of him. A perfect fake out for Melodic.
Absolutely. He just had that ball he thought he was going high, and he just hit him with the low. And, I mean, that was the nicest goal I've seen so far.
Yeah, the nicest read of the night that we have seen. But, hey, we're only into 2 games. We have a lot of possessions still coming up. A lot of shots coming in from Georgia Tech here in this next kickoff. A nice demo also coming in for the reset for Bruton Parker. Let them get back into the field a little bit quicker.
Did you just see how the 3 attempts to make a goal just overshadowing just slightly too far away from the goal? I mean, Georgia Tech definitely has to pick up the pace now. With 1 minute and 34 seconds left, they have to put something on the board.
Yeah, Sol gaining possession of this from a Georgia Tech mistouch. It will fall into the hands of Bruton Parker. Antics tries and gets another shot onto goal, but it will fall just short of the goalpost. Sol doing a really good job of still keeping up the pressure for Bruton Parker. Gets the pass into Melodic. Melodic getting some touches for Antics. Antics, unfortunately, gets the crossbar. The worst friend in this game, right?
Yeah. Well, the crossbar can either work in your favor depending on how high you throw it. Now, as long as somebody is there on the ground to assist, it's not too bad. It can definitely help when you just don't have full control of the ball and you don't want to get it snatched from you.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of possession from both teams fall off the top of the crossbar. It will be dropped, though, who tries and puts this off the top of his stadium and puts this into the hands of Tech. Will be dropped, who also keeps up the push a little bit more as Bruton Parker pushed up the field just a little bit more. Cure getting the mid boost, giving themselves just a little bit field back, and tries to keep the push going for it. Sol did a really good job, though, of rotating into Bruton Parker's goal. Still keeps up Bruton Parker's defense and keeps their rotations back into play. And will be Melodic, who comes off the side of the stadium, gets a really nice touch and a really nice read from Oni. Couldn't get the clear on it like he wanted, fed it right into Melodic's hand.
Now, I can tell you, Bruton Parker knows how to play their field game. Everybody knows their position, and depending on the defense from Georgia Tech, they know how to maneuver around. I told you, Sol is a blocker. That man definitely makes sure Georgia Tech puts nothing on this board.
Yeah, it will be Sol who tries and moves out of his goal and tries to get something into the goal of Georgia Tech, but it will be Bruton Parker who are looking to take this ball, push it off the bottom of the field. Oni and maybe some members of Georgia Tech might put this one down onto the floor, but they're keeping up some aggression right here just to at least test what Bruton Parker has to offer.
I mean, it's crazy that now we're still waiting for the ball to drop. Is someone going to make a shot? Because you know the game isn't over until it hits the ground.
Yeah, and it seems like Bruton Parker know this. They might let this one touch, but it will be Sol who puts this up into the air as dropped. puts this into two other teammates. A little bit of a mistouch almost led to an own goal from Georgia Tech, but an insane game 2. We saw a little bit more in the second half than we did in the first half, but I want to look more at the first half, right? We saw a lot of defense coming out from both teams, and we saw a lot of pushes actually stopped in front of each goal more than anything.
I would definitely say that Bruton Parker played a great defensive game by not allowing Georgia Tech to get any points on the board. I mean, Seoul definitely held down the backfield while Melodic and Antics put the scores on the board. And sometimes you have to run somebody point, and you have to kind of guide who's going to take that initiative and who's going to be defensive. I think right now Georgia Tech is still playing who's going to go for the goal and who's going to block the goal. And I think they need to catch it up right now because now they're 0-2.
Yeah, that's something that Bruton Parker has definitely done really good in these first 2 games is they know that Seoul is a very reliable defender. They can send him back from the midfield, push him right along the edge of the arena, and put him right back into goal where he needs to be. We need to see what Georgia Tech can offer in retaliation. Maybe put a man in the back for their own, or maybe even dedicate some time to figuring out where each player is going to play and where the boost is going to play more effective in figuring out where each member needs to be.
Now, we all know Melodic, straight out of the gate, and he just waited for the ball to drop straight off the crossbar to completely close that out. And he was open goal. Where was Georgia Tech right there?
It looked like, to me, that they had 2 members who double committed onto that play, and one came out of the goal to try and get the touch onto the ball, but wasn't able to. Antics and Melodic doing a really good job of starting this next push for Bruton Parker as we are only 30 seconds into this game. A nice shot on goal for Melodic and Antics, but it will be Georgia Tech who looks to clean it up.
Now, I know stranger things have happened, and Georgia Tech can absolutely come back. But I feel like Bruton Parker is putting in that energy like, we're not even going to allow you to. Can this be a sweep, or can they put a point on the board?
I don't know, and we'll have to see what they can do. Seoul actually came out of the goal line specifically so he could get a touch on the ball and say, I'm not the only one in this back line. I want to be on the front, waiting to get some gold. But I have to talk real quick about what I'm seeing from Melodic because he is doing such a good job of faking out the Georgia Tech offense and as well as forcing them into defense that they're uncomfortable with.
Absolutely. Here we are in game 3, and they still can't get a wrap on how to defend and properly block Bruton Parker. And you would have thought it would have been more defensive play around Melodic, considering he's definitely putting on the board and he definitely drives the ball, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, I think one thing that we're seeing Bruton Parker do really good is that they're actually getting the demos that they want onto Georgia Tech members. They're doing a really good job of pushing them back into their side of the field in order to gain some advantage on the field and push them into scenarios that they don't really like. It will be Georgia Tech, though, who look to take that initiative and maybe apply that as we see a little bit of a goal potential coming in for Georgia Tech.
I want them to still play strong and still play defensively because they're not out. You know what I mean? I definitely want them to pick up the pace and put a score on the board. Thank you, Drop. He said, I'm listening to you, Tony, and I'm going to get it out there for you.
Yeah, he said, I'm going to read this from Cure, and I am finally going to put this past Antics. Knowing that those two have been fighting this entire series so far, I am so happy to see Drop finally put one on the board against Melodic.
Absolutely, and I'm definitely excited because now we're finally in a tied game. Who's going to go for the next shot? Who's going to make it? What are we thinking?
I'm thinking that, Bruton Parker is able to keep this into the side of Georgia Tech and keep up a little bit of a push. Seoul trying to put this into the corner for Melodic and keep a nice little push and a nice little pace for Bruton Parker. But it will be Seoul who misses the pass and leaves the goal open for Georgia Tech. It will be Cure, though, who can't get the touch on it just in time. Drop passing this into mid for Oni, but it will be Melodic who comes off the top of the crossbar and the top of the goal, puts this down into Antics. But Antics couldn't get the touch and loses the 50-50, and Georgia Tech gained possession of this ball. A nice, good pace coming from both teams right here.
Absolutely. This next shot is crucial because whoever puts that next score on the board, it can either go into overtime in less than a minute, or someone's going to take this round.
Yeah, Antics Melodic, I don't know if you saw, actually played the ball right in front of each other to try and get a nice goal onto Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech read them and were able to push that ball right away and push this back into Bruton Parker's territory. Oni doing a really good job of pushing the pace into this Bruton Parker corner, but it was Antics that was able to knock this ball away. Cure receiving the pass from Melodic and actually gets the pass into Antics. These two are playing off of each other still. I don't know why these two are not getting demoed more.
I mean, it's the Shaq and Kobe combo. What do you expect? It's always a setup. You should already know once Melodic puts that ball out, you have to look for Antics behind you. You have to.
Man, I will say, these two, as good as they are playing off of each other, we do need to see Georgia Tech actually come through with some demos. I think that could slow down the pace of those two and really push the momentum in their favor. It will be Antics, though, and a member of Georgia Tech who fight for this possession. Soul coming out of the back line to try and put this onto the ball. Melodic tries to get the double touch off of his teammate, but couldn't get it in time. But it will be an open net for Dropped. He goes and actually puts this into Georgia Tech's field, or puts this into Bruton Parker's field, and he knew he was going to run away with this goal. Gets a nice little flip for himself.
Now, I would say that Georgia Tech is really good at using that long-distance boost to get straight into the goal. And they always do it very well. And I want to see them continue to do that to compete with Bruton Parker.
Yeah, we do see less than a minute left. 2-2 on the board. It is a fight for this game number 3, actually. Sorry, I had to look because like everything is just 2s at this point. But it will be 40 seconds left. It will be a Bruton Parker push. Antics puts this in mid for Bruton Parker. But it will be Georgia Tech who receives some of these passes, dropping this into the Georgia Tech goal line.
Absolutely, and you know that Georgia Tech, they're pretty good at a comeback. They're pretty good at overtime, and like we said, this is definitely a marathon. You can't just wrap this up quickly. They're definitely going to fight for it, and I expect them to.
Yeah, Cure doing a really good job of fighting for this possession against 2 other members of Bruton Parker and actually takes it away. It will get dropped into Bruton Parker's corner. Soul doing a really good job of getting the clear onto it, though, but it will get dropped into mid. We do see our first overtime of this series.
I expect nothing less of Game 3. Can Georgia Tech pull it out?
It will be Oni who does get the nice start off the kickoff and gets a shot onto it, but Soul, again, in the back line, proving that he can really come through as a ray of sun and block any kind of attempt for Georgia Tech.
Now, I definitely want to see Georgia Tech step up in this game. I think that would help boost them and keep them in the running and keep them striving hard. I mean, Drop almost had that ball right there into the goal, and it was just slightly off.
Yeah, Dropped almost got the touch onto his own goal by incident because Soul came out of nowhere and just decided I want to play a little bit I want to push this momentum a little bit more. It will be Cure, though, and some members of Georgia Tech who are stuck back in their goal. Melodic tries to get the flip reset on the ball, but it will be Soul who accidentally gets the touch. A little bit of a miscommunication coming in. Soul and Melodic playing off of each other, but it will be Cure and other members of Georgia Tech who push this into Bruton Parker territory. Seeing that Soul is back there in the goal line, I think it will slow down Georgia Tech just a little bit as a member of Georgia Tech gets pushed back into their side of the field.
Now, this is the moment that we need to see. Georgia Tech definitely needs to get this one and keep them in the running for this series.
Yeah, we do need to see what Georgia Tech can offer for the rest of these games. The crossbar shot coming in from Melodic, and it will get cleared away from Georgia Tech. A couple of shots on goal could be in Georgia Tech's favor in these last couple of moments, but it will be Bruton Parker who actually takes the read, and Soul who demos Cure to stop the Georgia Tech aggression a little bit. Cure, or Dropped, excuse me, coming from the backfield and coming from a corner, is able to stop a little bit more of Bruton Parker. 2 demos, again, within the last minute from Bruton Parker. I think that is something that Georgia Tech could keep forward for themselves in these next games.
I mean, this defensive play in the first overtime so far is intense. You can definitely see that both teams want it, and they're going for it right now.
Yeah, and it looks like Georgia Tech do have some members of Bruton Parker stuck in a loop right now. A lot of shots coming in from Georgia Tech, keeping them in in constant rotation with each other. It will be dropped. It will be cured. It will be Soul, who doesn't get the touch on his ball, and Georgia Tech wins game number 3. Oh my goodness. What an insane set of plays.
I mean, Drop came through and said, hey, we lost the 2 first games, but we're not going to get swept. This isn't one of those. We're definitely in the running. I mean, great. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm glad they put it down.
I'm happy that we're getting a game 5 at the end of the day. It's not going to 4, it's going to 5 at least. So we have a little bit of a run for money because, again, we're playing for $1,000. We're not playing for any kind of momentum, and we can see some of these faces coming in from all these players getting hyped, getting in the moment with each other, and knowing that they have some really good chances to have a really clean series from both of these teams.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's never too late to turn it around. We're only in game 3. We're going into game 4, and Georgia Tech said, hey, we've came this far too. They're right now 2 of the best teams so far, and game 4, what are we thinking?
You know, what I'm thinking is that I'm excited to see these people play in person. And I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed getting to see the faces of who we got on the board and who we got behind the controller, behind the keyboard and mouse, right? Putting some faces to the names that we've been casting over for these last couple weeks.
Absolutely. Both of these teams are hardcore, and I want them to play their best, okay? I want to see why you guys are the best 2 out of the best. And, of course, Melodic, straight out the gate, said, all right, we are now allowing it to go to game 5, but we won't. I mean, we're going into game 5, but we really wanted to end it at game 4. When I spoke to Melodic earlier, he definitely told me he did not come to play, so let's see if he's going to keep his word.
Yeah, he is looking to keep that momentum going forward as he gets game 4 underway with a goal of his own. And it will be Bruton Parker who take an early lead in this series. It will be Georgia Tech, however, who go ahead and start reading some of these pushes and start putting themselves in front of the goal just a little bit more compared to what we saw earlier on.
Now, I think that game 4 will definitely bring a new switch to the game as far as defensively and offensively playing. Because now, if Georgia Tech win, we'll be 2-2, but if Bruton Parker wins, it'll be 3-1, which means they'll just have one more game to close the series out.
Yeah, and that'll put a little bit more pressure onto Georgia Tech, but it will be Melodic who tries to get the touch onto a 2-0 potential, but he wasn't able to get it. It was going to get cleared from some Georgia Tech members who are all swarming this defense just a little bit. It was Dropped who actually stopped a goal that was actually inside of their goal, and Antics and Melodic still keeping up the pressure in this corner despite knowing that Georgia Tech may be out of boost. But Georgia Tech are able to get some clear and get some possession of their own and force themselves into a little bit of a better scenario.
Absolutely. I mean, you can tell now that everything's going to be tit for tat. They're going for the goals. They're like, hey, we're going to end this strong.
Yeah, Oni, like a samurai, coming out of nowhere, ready for any kind of nighttime defense, comes from offense to defense, tries to put one into Bruton Parker's goal. It is unfortunately read by Bruton Parker, and Soul and a couple of the other members doing some really good rotations in order to get to that spot.
Absolutely. You can definitely see that everybody's being a little bit more strategic on when the ball is on their side of the field. They're blocking their goal intensely, especially Georgia Tech, because they know how slippery Bruton Parker can be.
Yeah, they know that they're capable of winning those 50-50s. Unfortunately, Cure wasn't able to win his 50-50 to stop Bruton Parker's push in this goal, but it will be Soul and Antics who clean up, and Oni, unfortunately, couldn't get the 50-50 he wanted either, so those are proving really vital for Georgia Tech to win.
Exactly, and again, I tell people that the best feature that Bruton Parker has, once that ball is on their side of the field, non-stop attempts to make a goal. And you have to be like that to put scores on the board.
Yeah, Antics and Drop doing a really good job of fighting for this corner boost on Georgia Tech's side of the field, but it will be Dropped who couldn't get the touch on in time. A little bit of a mishap, but it will be Soul still in the back line, ready for any kind of push from Georgia Tech.
And you can tell he's starting to be strategic, and they're slowing down their movements to at least line it up perfectly. And Melodic, once again, he said, I will drive this ball if I don't have nobody in sight.
You know, this just goes to show you that Antics and Melodic, like, for as good as we say they are, they're actually reading the ball really well more than anything. Antics was able to push that off of the side post into a ball reflect coming towards Melodic, and knew that Melodic would be there to take that ball for him.
Exactly. I noticed that they did start to slow down once they are on their side and perfectly go for it, but Oni said, we're not closing this out like this.
Yeah, Oni and a member of Bruton Parker getting the pinch onto that ball, sending that thing into the goal at 104 miles an hour.
Now, you got to remember in the earlier series that we did see this 2-1 lead before with these two teams. Are they going to close it in, or are we going to see a 2-2? Can we see a Game 7?
Oh, I think there's potential for a Game 7, right? We see one more game up on this board. We know we're getting Game 6 from Georgia Tech, but it will be a nice little game changer if we do go all the way to Game 7, because we actually haven't seen the end of series, whether it was our best of 5 or we only saw one best of 3 when it came to our group stage, and it was these teams that are fighting right now.
I mean, this was a highly anticipated rematch from the summer, just from Bruton Park, and coming out of nowhere and showing up some vets. You definitely have to defend your title.
Yeah, we do see, though, 40 seconds left on this clock, and it will be Georgia Tech who needs 2 more goals to equalize this opportunity that Bruton Parker has presented for him. Soul, unfortunately, could not get the Bruton Parker attempt on the goal that they were looking for. Georgia Tech doing a really good job of getting the clears that they wanted. Soul, however, I swore he was just on the other side of the field, already rotated back into Georgia Tech's corner, and it will be Soul who does drop one in.
Look, the underdog, he said, you know what? You guys think I'm just playing defensively. I can play offensively. If I can't find Melodic and I can't find Antics, I can take the goal.
Now, would that put him as an underdog, or would it put him as the man that you can rely on more than anything?
He's definitely, he's okay with playing the back. But if he needs to play front, he definitely show up every time.
Every time, every single play. 10 seconds left on the board for Melodic and Antics, and Soul for Bruton Parker to win out game number 4 and put them up 3-1 in the series. It will be a nice little drop opportunity for them, but Cure is going to pop this up into the air and keep this up for Georgia Tech.
Now, I mean, it's clearly going to be hard for them, even with the ball in the air, to catch up to a 4. So, I mean,
there's potential, but it will get dropped from Bruton Parker, and they will go up 3-1 in the series.
I'm definitely proud of Georgia Tech for definitely defending themselves, and you can tell that they want this. They're definitely a hard team to beat defensively, and they know how to run a marathon. They know how to keep that momentum going forward, because I can't say this will be an easy game for Bruton Parker. They're definitely pulling out stops and having to rotate their players around and work with Georgia Tech.
Yeah, despite Bruton Parker being down 3-1, or being up 3-1, Georgia Tech could rally in this next game, because we know that Bruton Parker is on match point. They could close out this series right here and come to a close and win that 750 for their members, but Georgia Tech, I think, could have a really good answer back in this game.
I mean, Melodic's my guy. I'm going to stick to his word. He said he's going to close it out, and I believe him. He's done led his team this far, and they have to close it out. They have to finish it.
Hey, they might look to finish it, but Georgia Tech still looks hungry. They still look like they can come through.
Absolutely.
And come through with any kind of clutch factor. It will be Bruton Parker who does take the ball right here going into game number 5, and it will be Georgia Tech who are pushed into a little bit of a bad scenario. However, Georgia Tech took that scenario, turned it into something good, and pushed it right back into Bruton Parker's side of the field.
Absolutely, and I really want to see some real firepower from Georgia Tech. I want to see you put it in there. I want to see Oni with the ball again, with the boost, driving it straight into the goal.
Yeah, Dropped doing a really good job, though, of being the Oni that they need right now. Oni gets the touch onto the ball and pushes this back down into the front of Bruton Parker's goal. And it will be Melodic who is caught out with a little bit of no boost. Dropped still sitting and waiting for his teammates on this push coming in from them.
And now you could tell the strategy for this game in Game 5 is to close it out, especially from Bruton Parker. So I want Georgia Tech to try to play as offensively as possibly and put some scores on the board.
We will see a nice goal attempt coming in from Bruton Parker, and it will be a member of Georgia Tech who actually puts that off the crossbar that's inside the goal, and it gets the reflect off the ground into the pitch again. But it will be Georgia Tech who are looking to try and win out these 50-50s. Melodic and Dropped, unfortunately, do come to a close on that 50-50, and it will be some Georgia Tech members who start to swarm the ball and play a little bit more aggressive. One member of Georgia Tech trying to play into the goal of Bruton Parker. Cure still coming off the back line to try and keep any kind of Bruton Parker momentum forward. And it will be Dropped who puts that into Bruton Parker's corner. And it will be Georgia Tech who take the first goal of this Game 5 and really prove that this is what they needed.
Now, Seoul was just slightly off from that, but this is what I want from Georgia Tech. I want them to fight for it. Push it to Game 6 and maybe push it to Game 7 and take the whole series. Who knows?
Swarm like a jacket and sting like a bee is what Georgia Tech is looking to offer for Bruton Parker. Antics trying to fight for Georgia Tech's possession on the ball, and he does win out, but Oni coming in for the goal and does get a nice little attempt for a block onto Seoul. Seoul and the members of Bruton Parker trying to get some possession onto the ball. Oni does get the double tap and gets the pass into Dropped. Dropped, pushing this into Bruton Parker's corner, but it will be Cure who just tries to gets the cleanup. Seoul coming from the back line into the corner, and it gets the nice touch onto the ball. Oni tries to get the possession from a Bruton Parker member, but was able to fall flat on this, and it will still be the Bruton Parker possession on the ball.
That was a close hit by Antics. He was going to go for the goal, and it just was slightly off. I definitely want to see them put a score on the board.
I know you do, but Georgia Tech are not allowing this to happen. This is an entirely different team that we're witnessing. There is so much aggression coming out from the Swarm.
I love this defensive play. I love that they're not going to just go for the one. I need you to put this to Game 7.
Yeah, I want you to take any kind of shots, any kind of attempts on on scoring, and push it forward. Push this into your favor. No one in the goal for Bruton Parker, but they were able to get the rotation back in time. Cure and Melodic fighting for this possession as Antics comes in and fights Oni for it as well. It will be pushed into Georgia Tech's corner as Seoul pushes this Bruton Parker offensive push just a little bit more. It will be Oni who gets the double touch. Couldn't get the actual touch onto, or the flip on the ball that he wanted. Oh my goodness. What is this Georgia Tech team now?
I mean, I'm definitely excited. They're definitely playing defensively, and they're making sure Bruton Parker gets absolutely nothing on the board. If they got to win 1-0, they will.
Yeah, we do see, again, 115 on the board with only 1 point up on the board for Georgia Tech. This might be all they need. Play this game as defensively as possible now at this point. Don't let them score an open goal. And that's what Antics did. He took the open goal and just rolled with it. Oh my goodness, Oni couldn't get the touch on in time.
Now you know that we're not going to take that lay-in down. I'd rather go into overtime than let them just beat me 1-0.
But now we do see the opportunity for Georgia Tech to get a really good kickoff. It will be, unfortunately, a nice score for Melodic. 2 goals within like 5 seconds of this game.
Melodic said, we are tired of playing with y'all. There's a minute left in this game. It's time to close it up.
Yeah, it looked like that kickoff proved to be the reset factor for Bruton Parker. They were able to capitalize on those brief moments, and it will be Oni who takes this next kickoff and plays this into Georgia Tech's favor. We do see 2 scores coming in, 2 shots on goal coming in from this. What are these kickoffs?
I don't know what's going on, but it's giving finish 'em vibes. Everybody is coming through with the shots. I love this. We're going tit for tat. Use that boost, get in that ball in the goal, for real.
Every member of each team is proving that they want to put their best foot forward, or they want to put their best wheel on the pitch. It will be Georgia Tech who does try and get this possession off of Bruton Parker, and it will be dropped, who tries to get the ball back, but he will get the rotation, tries to get a nice little demo onto a Bruton Parker member. Oni doing a really good job of getting the read, but it will be Melodic who pushes this off the top of the crossbar and off the top of their side of the field. Soul and on other members, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but this is just too high action to not commentate. Soul and Oni battling for this ball. Oni tries to get the extra touch onto his teammates, but they were still in the back line and in midfield to stop this push. They were ready for any kind of offense to turn into defense.
Now with 10 seconds left, will Game 5 be the closer or the opener?
Yeah, Melodic tries to get a second touch onto this ball, but it will be dropped right in front of Georgia Tech's line. We go into overtime. This is vital for the Swarm to win. Can they close it out and actually push this into Game 6?
Now, this is the game I want to see. This is the overtime I want to see. Is Georgia Tech going to take another game, or is Bruton Parker going to completely close it out?
It will be Melodic who does put this in the favor of Bruton Parker. However, Georgia Tech reads that read and actually pushes this back into their side of the field. However, it will be Cure stuck in the goal and gets the nice drop onto the save. It will be some members of Bruton Parker, though, try and put this forward just a little bit more. However, Georgia Tech doing a really good job of getting these reads onto Bruton Parker and getting these rotations that they want.
I mean, you can tell, you can see Antics using his boost. Everybody's trying to get to the goal to make sure they block it. These goals are open. Who's going to go for the shot?
It's going to be Bruton Parker's attempt on the goal line. It will be Antics and a member of Georgia Tech who battle in front of that goal, but it will be stopped from Georgia Tech, dropped, doing a really good job of pushing this into midfield and pushing this and curing the ball for Cure, but it will get pushed back into their territory. Oni and a couple members of Georgia Tech doing a really good job of rallying back into their corners and pushing some aggression back just a little bit into their favor.
Now, here's the ball again. Good block by Oni. And Soul is like, hey, we're going to keep it on our side.
Yeah, Cure winning the 50-50 with dropped. It will be dropped and Soul who battle this out. And it will be a couple of shots on goal for a couple members of this Georgia Tech offense. Cure tries to get the third goal, or the third goal that they need. But it's Oni from downtown who actually comes in, scores for Tech, gets us into Game 6.
I mean, that's what they're good at. That's what I expect from Georgia Tech. They're always good with using the boost from downfield and driving it straight into an open goal.
Yeah, man. Oh, my goodness. Oni clearing this from his side of the field, and it was a couple members of Bruton Parker who just couldn't get the read in time. Antics was in the goal waiting for this possession, but it was Oni who slipped this right over him, and a couple members of Georgia Tech, I know they're feeling a little bit more relieved knowing that they have another game to still rally on.
I mean, I am over here clutching my pearls. This is definitely a different team that we've seen from this summer. It's definitely more competitive. Both of these teams are playing at the same level right now.
If I could have pearls to clutch, I probably would too, because I'm sitting here like sweating looking at this Game 6 as all members of each team are up in their seats. They are out of laying back, and they are in their gamer positions, really.
I mean, like I said, we've seen how the strategic play of both teams has changed dramatically. I mean, aggressive, defensive, offensively, both teams are saying, hey, we're going to block the ball and we're going to go for it.
Yeah, we do see a lot of demos, especially coming out early in these games, and it's not looking to be any different as Soul was able to get a demo onto a Georgia Tech member, and it will be Antics who tries to get a second touch onto the ball from his teammate. Couldn't read it just in time, but it will be Georgia Tech who look to take that defense and push it into offense. Drop tries to get the second touch onto the ball, but Soul gets the clear. But it will be Georgia Tech who actually drop this ball into their territory a little bit more. A demo comes out from Georgia Tech to clean up someone that's in the goal, but they couldn't get the score in time.
Now, you have to understand that Georgia Tech has to play these next two games as if it's their last. Literally.
It could be their last. Cure did a really good job of actually teeing up a ball for dropped within that possession, but it will be some members of Georgia Tech who are caught out just a little bit back in their backfield, and Bruton Parker gained possession of that ball and still drove it forward.
Now you can tell how, and so he said, hey, if I can't find Melodic, I can't find Antics, I'm going to go for the goal myself. I could definitely tell the pressure is on Bruton Parker to close this game out. I mean, they came out so strong with the first 2 games, and then they let Georgia Tech catch up. They're trying to close it out right now.
They do want to close it out in this moment, and they could do it. But Georgia Tech does have 3.5 minutes to equalize this goal. It will be a couple members of Georgia Tech who do fall to the hands of Bruton Parker. But Sol still trying to get a nice little read and get a second goal for himself. Cure, however, has something to say as he passes this into Drop. Drop tries to get a second touch onto the ball and passes this into Oni. Oni pushes this up into Bruton Parker's top of the field and tries to get the second touch onto it, but Bruton Parker doing a really good job of reading Georgia Tech and saying goodbye, we want this game.
I love that everybody, once they realize they're not doing their initial part, they just switch. Everybody has been doing a great job by moving with the momentum of the game and definitely trying to keep up and push what they need to push out.
Yeah, we need to see what Georgia Tech has to answer and what they can push out for themselves on this offensive push. Cure tries to get this pass into a couple of members of Georgia Tech as they push forward a little bit more, but it will be Antics who rolls this off the side of the field and pushes them up 2-0 with exactly 2:30 left on the board. Half of this game is over, and Bruton Parker's up 2-0. Georgia Tech has to rally right now.
Now at this point, you know this is usually when Bruton Parker start to play a little nasty. Now they're putting points on the board, and now they're playing super defensively. So I really need Georgia Tech to use those boosts again and definitely go for those goals.
Yeah, I think we need to see a lot of aggression coming in from Georgia Tech, but it will be Bruton Parker who looks up to put some aggression on their own. Melodic gets the demo onto his teammate. Sol pushes this off the pass from Melodic into Georgia Tech territory, but it will be the Swarm who are able to clear this away. Kier trying to push this ball just a little bit past their corner, and it will be Bruton Parker who regains possession of the ball. Sol trying to come out of the backfield and gain another touch onto the ball, but it will roll back into Georgia Tech hands. Cure cleaning this up from mid, tries to get the flip reset, couldn't get it in time. It will fall back into Tech territory, but Oni had something to say about it and pushes this into Cure. It will get pushed into 2 members of Bruton Parker. So much aggression coming in from Tech in these last couple moments.
I mean, at this point, all Bruton Parker really have to do is block the goal. They have 2 points on the board with 1 minute and 27 seconds left. Just make sure Georgia Tech does not score at all.
Yeah, Melodic trying to make sure that they can't score as he puts one down on the field for him. Tried to get the fake out. Antics and a couple members doing a really good job of pushing Georgia Tech into really unfortunate circumstances. But Georgia Tech is still able to keep up their pressure on the ball and actually block some of these really hard scoring attempts from Bruton Parker. But it will be a mistouch from Georgia Tech, allows Bruton Parker to put another one up on the board as Bruton Parker goes up 3-0 in this game.
Now, you know in this game, you cannot block the ball so softly in front of the goal, especially not around Antics, Melodic, or even Sol himself.
Yeah, Oni, I bet, is really feeling the pressure after that one, but it will be 3-0 difference from Bruton Parker. Can Tech rally? And unfortunately, it's looking like a runaway now because Sol was able to just capitalize on these Georgia Tech mishaps right now.
I mean, Straight just drove straight into the goal. I mean, at this point, I think they're about to just close it out. Now they're just playing around with him.
They're toying with the food, as you would probably like to put it.
It's giving finish 'em vibes and finish 'em well.
It looks like Bruton Parker are looking to finish the series, but it will be Oni who pushes this into Georgia Tech, into a Georgia Tech score potential. Cure doing a really good job of reading any kind of push onto their side of the field from Bruton Parker. However, Melodic has something to say about this. Puts this into the midfield, and Melodic, unfortunately, is going to lose the possession. Drop tries to get the fake out for Georgia Tech. Couldn't get it. 20 seconds left on the clock. It will get pushed back into Tech territory. Drop doing a really good job of playing this back into midfield. Sol just comes up out of nowhere. Again, seems to be this common circumstance and is able to get the 50-50 touch for them. And it is looking to be that Bruton Parker will take this series and they are going to look to drop this down. Soul pushes this on the ground, and it will be Bruton Parker who take the series and close out the Gel Finals 4-2 as our final scoreboard.
Yes, sir. I mean, I expect nothing less from my boys. I mean, definitely a tough game. Georgia Tech definitely came out and they showed, hey, we're not an easy sweep. We're a hard team to beat, and I'm proud of them. I mean, now they're 0-2 from the summer to now here.
However, they put up 2 games against Bruton Parker and were able to capitalize on any mistakes that Bruton Parker were putting forth, right? They had some overcommitments. They had some potential to score on some bad plays from Georgia Tech, and they weren't able to close out those games in a clean sweep.
Absolutely. I would definitely say that Drop was the MVP for the Georgia Tech team. He definitely carried them to their first 1 win in Game 3, and I'm definitely proud of how he played.
Yeah, I'm proud of how the entire team played because at the end of the day, this was a scrimmage out of season for these teams. They saw a lot of potential coming into the series, having to face against UGA, against Georgia State, against some of these really good teams, and including KSU and BPA, who also play in another league of their own.
Absolutely. I mean, UNG came out strong and aggressively. I was definitely proud of how Morehouse played. All these 9 teams definitely came and they showed out, and it was amazing to watch this whole month.
Yeah, and we're sad to see Georgia Tech walk away with the loss, but I'm happy that they are walking away with something. But ladies and gentlemen, Bruton Parker are your Gel Fall Open winners, and they are going to walk away with $750 in their pocket, knowing that they're 2-0 against Georgia Tech and bragging rights against all the colleges that we saw in this tournament.
I mean, I'm also a good luck charm. You see the shirt. You know what I mean?
We knew. You're
We
biased.
did not come to play. I am not biased. I love every one of them. They're definitely all great players. They definitely come out and put everything on that court, and I respect them all.
Yeah, I respect every level of play that they had to offer. But I think as we get close to the end of our show, we do want to go ahead and thank our sponsors that we didn't get to in the beginning of our show. We had Skillshot able to put on this production for us. We have GFA as well, since we are members of GFA who have been casting over this tournament over the entire month, and we are super thankful of the opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. We have to thank Georgia Esports League. We have to thank Ghost Gaming, and we also have to thank Piedmont Healthcare.
Yeah, we do appreciate all the sponsors coming out from each one of you guys for allowing us to be able to do this. But I think, Tony, that's going to do it for us here. Any final words from you?
I just want to say shout out to all 9 teams. You guys were awesome. Thank you guys for doing what you do best and allowing us to, cast for you.
Yeah, and you couldn't have put it better. That's going to do it for Tony. That's also going to do it for me here. We enjoyed having all you guys here for the Gel Fall Open, and that's going to do it for us until next time when we see more colleges play out potentially. But like I said, that's it for us. We love all of you guys, and you hope you have a good rest of the night.
Let me keep my shirt.
only